Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I didn't talk too much about the Rockets and the Miami Heat fight. In fact, I don't even think I mentioned it on the channel. I did watch footage of it. I don't know, man. The NBA's been testy as of late. I don't know what's going on with guys. I just think teams probably in need of a bunch of trades, and they're not able to make them because of the way things are going. So you're seeing guys who've been in places too long, or in frustrating circumstances, or stressful circumstances, just kind of starting to get testy. We saw it last week with Nurkic and that whole situation, and now we're seeing it with Amen Thompson and Tyler Hero. I didn't see the lead up to this one. I don't know what happened, but basically it led to Amen Thompson and Tyler Hero kind of grabbing one another, and then from there Amen Thompson just threw Tyler Hero to the ground. He tripped him in a very violent way, I guess you would say. I don't think I've seen too many people throw a grown man to the ground like Amen Thompson threw Tyler Hero to the ground. I don't think so. And Tyler Hero was essentially saying afterwards that, it was because he was beating him on the basketball court that he was ultimately frustrated. He said, I'd be frustrated too. I don't know, man, but that was a display of real athleticism and strength. I know Amen Thompson is one of the most athletic players in sports. That part has already been established when he was in a draft prospect. It was said that, and it's understood that he's one of the most athletic people we've ever seen. But his real overall strength was on display probably about as well as we've ever seen it. In that moment right there, when he took Tyler Hero, who's got to be about 220 pounds, 6'7", 230, something like that, threw that man to the ground like he was a doll, man. He threw him down hard, like fast and hard. And you can just understand the difference in strength there, man. It's just it's something different there with that type of athleticism. Kudos to Terry Rozier, who immediately jumped on him after that, coming to the aid of his teammate. That's what you want to see. But Amen Thompson is probably somebody that the average human being should probably not want to tussle with. Hell no, not at all. Not at all. Because he don't look like he's built like a tank. But when he actually gets his hands on you, see what he can do. And it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. I would expect someone double the size of Amen Thompson to handle somebody like that. Double the size. That's how he looked like he's throwing him down like it was a significant football type body he was using to do that. But that just tells you where we're at with human evolution as it pertains to certain guys, man. They're just stronger than everybody else, and you can see it when they use their power to jump off the floor and quick twitch muscles and all this different stuff. But when you see a person manhandle another person, you're like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Probably should leave that one alone. So yeah, that's kind of what that was for me. I was just like this, like, whoa, okay. Can't say I was surprised, but yeah, it's just one of those things. It's different when you see it like that. So I don't know, man. Luckily, those two don't have to see each other but twice a year. I don't know if this is the first or the second time those two teams have met. But it's an interconference battle, so hopefully no trades are made to see it, that those two are anywhere near each other anytime soon. But and Miami ended up winning the game, so I think that's what all that matters. I don't know, man. I just think that some suspensions could potentially be on the way, especially since we saw how many suspension games were given to Marshall and, of course, Nurkic. Of course, there's something in the language that says you can't throw a fist, and I didn't see a fist thrown anywhere in that situation, but obviously this was a lot more vicious or whatever, violent, whatever the word would be. So to me, that has to be taken into account. I don't know how the NBA is going to do this, but I do expect some suspensions will be coming down for a couple of people. 6 people in total got thrown out of that game. From what I understand, the referees may have been a bit extra. Maybe there was a superstar referee on the floor at the time. One of them ones. I don't know. From what I understand, that might have played into the overall frustration of the basketball game. But I didn't watch the game, so I wouldn't necessarily know. But whatever the case may be, 6 people were thrown out of that game, including Fred VanVleet, who's starting to get a reputation with the refs. He needs to be careful with that. He wasn't thrown out in that scrum. From what I understand, he was thrown out right before that. I don't know why. I didn't see. But 6 people in total. It's just, what can I say, man? Frustrations are boiling over. You're starting to see trade time come around. Guys mainstays on teams that are supposed to help teams become champions, like Jimmy Butler on the move. You know, it's a stressful thing for the NBA. For me, just paying attention to how things are going, you would think it would be a little less stressful, given the fact that it's a little less likely the trades get made. So, you know, my speculation is just that, speculation. But it seems like that there's a frustration boiling over, and there's probably some stress attached to it for these individual guys. I don't know what's going on in Miami. They did win the game, but there's something to be said for just the Jimmy Butler situation and how that could trickle down to some frustration as well. Amen Thompson, I don't know what his situation is. And Houston's definitely doing well. I think they're number 2 or 3 in the Western Conference right now. So I don't know, but at the end of the day, you just, you know, it's fun for us fans, some of us anyway, to watch stuff like this happen. You bring some excitement to a game that's otherwise sometimes not really overly exciting. But when you see what transpires from it, as it pertains to suspensions and how that affects teams and wins and stuff like that, it's not cute anymore, you know. If the NBA were a bit more liberal about or lenient about these type of things, I think it would really be something else, or you'd probably open the door for more of it, for which they don't want. But I think at the end of the day, the NBA really cares about just not trickling into the stands. And that situation that took place with the fans back in the Malice at the Palace back in the day, I think the NBA is still spooked by that, to be honest with you. I think they're still rather spooked by how all that went. And so they just don't want anything like that to be possible anymore. And so, I don't know. I look at the NBA and I just say, hey, fans do want some excitement, but we also don't want our players suspended for having passion. I've always thought that they should be a bit more lenient about everything, really. Not necessarily punches and fist fights and things like that, but as it pertains to letting players vent frustrations, I just don't think there's a whole lot of consistency with that. Some guy, and here's a strange aspect of it too. Some guys, their reputation makes it so that there's less lenience, and then there are guys like Draymond Green, who I personally think people are almost afraid of, to be honest with you, because there was a situation last week in a random game where Draymond Green was getting all in the ref's face. I know 9 out of 10 players get thrown out in that situation, but I legitimately think the ref was worried about getting punched in the face if he threw him out. And that's a real thing. Some people's reputation is like, yeah, I may be the ref and I may be in control of the situation, but I got to be ready to defend myself against somebody that's 3 times my size. If I do something he don't like, it could get my butt whooped out here. And I don't know how quickly security going to be able to get him off of me. You know, that kind of thing is real. So I just felt like the ref in that situation may have been a bit intimidated by Draymond. Just my thought about that situation. Because he was letting Draymond get away with a lot. Getting all in his face, following him all the way around. It's like, bro, you have every right to give that boy a technical or 2 right now. And if this was somebody else, you probably would have. So I just think there needs to be there's something to be said for that. Far be it from me to tell somebody they don't have a right to be concerned about their well-being when in the presence of somebody like that, who's clearly shown that he's off his rocker when it comes to certain things, not able to necessarily control his violence. Draymond's shown that many times over. So I don't necessarily blame the referee, but in that situation, I wonder if it was somebody else, does he get that much lenience? Somebody with a poor reputation, but less likely to punch you in the face. You know what I mean? You don't give him much room to even say 2 words to you. All of a sudden, you're throwing him out the game. So I don't know, man. That was just something that came to mind when thinking about all of this. I think the NBA would love to enforce consistency with that, but at the end of the day, there ain't a whole lot in between you and Draymond Green when he's in your face. You know what I mean? So that's just a real thing. I don't think a lot of people are going to respect, but if they were in that situation, I don't know if too many people would feel that much more confident than that ref did. So, you know, it is what it is, man. I just think the NBA is in a strange space where they're trying to get their ratings up. They had a really good Christmas, but overall the ratings have been down. Part of that has to do with the TV schedule and how difficult it is to watch these games legally, because they want you to be subscribed to all of these different subscription sites. And I guess that's what I would take into account as I'm assessing the ratings. How accessible is the game for those who don't want to pay for it? Because when you compare ratings, you're often comparing to eras past where we didn't have to have this kind of account and that kind of account paid monthly in order to watch the games. It was very simple to just turn on the TV and watch it instead of having the subscription payments coming out of our pockets. So if you're going to be sticklers for the ratings, you got to take into account the accessibility of this game itself. And then take into account that a lot of people have figured out how to watch the games illegally. And if I were trying to assess ratings, I would most definitely, if I were the NBA, want the numbers from the illegal sites. Obviously, you probably want to shut them down. But since they haven't taken initiative to do that, they should probably want to take into account those ratings so they can see the overall impact of the game and the overall desire for people to watch the game. Because if you're assessing the legal sites, then you got to understand that a good portion of your fan base is not watching via legal sites. So you could find yourself in a situation where you're not taking into account all of the ratings that are coming your way, and as a result may do certain things that aren't necessary based on your inaccuracy of impact numbers, I guess is what I can say. Impact numbers are probably just as strong as they've ever been. You just probably got a third of the people watching it on illegal sites. So if you want to make your game more accessible and start shaving off some of that profit that comes from having all these deals with all these specific sites that make us pay $8 a month to watch, and make the game free again, you're going to get your ratings up. If impact matters so much, then that should be something that's taken into account. And if it matters so little, then stop reacting so much to impact or lack thereof. When that impact isn't actually falling off, it's just that people got smarter about how they watch the games and how much they're willing to spend to support your affiliates, of whom you have all these deals with. So I don't know. I think that's what it really comes down to. That people are just watching the games elsewhere. They're still watching, but if you're not taking into account those numbers, then of course you're going to think people don't care about the game anymore. They do. They're just not paying for it through your affiliates. So that's really what it is. I think the NBA needs to smarten up and figure out what matters most. These deals, these 15, 20-year deals with these pay-for-watch sites, or the impact of the game, regardless of how it's being consumed. And if the consumption of the game is the most important thing as it pertains to how they're reacting to the choices that they're making around the game itself, changing the all-star game, putting all these tournaments in and stuff like that, then you need to understand that the impact is not necessarily affected. And in doing certain things that you're doing, you may actually be pushing some people away because they don't like the changes that you're making or what have you. Changes that you're only making because you think people aren't watching. So I think that's one of the most important things that the NBA really needs to take into account. And that's the information they really need to know. How many people are watching on illegal sites all over the globe? Not just in this country, but all over the world. Because I can tell you right now, it's a lot of people watching illegally. Lot. And that number is only going to grow when people start sharing the information necessary on how to find those sites and how to stream those games themselves. So that impact, I just wouldn't react to it if I were the NBA without that information. I wouldn't react to it at all. Because I don't think there's a shortage of people who love the NBA right now. I really don't. I think he could do a better job of assuming illegal impact, so to speak. I think that's what the NBA can really do. Assume illegal impact is what I call it. And in that assumption, normalize some of the stuff. Oh, that's not the word, but bring back some of the normal stuff. East-West All-Star games, fine. If you like the tournaments are fine. I don't think it's hurt anything personally. But giving us 3 All-Star teams, thinking about chopping up the West and Eastern Conference, some of those things are going to push people away when they're actually watching. So assume illegal impact is what I would tell Adam Silver. You want that information. And I'll tell you something else. Based on the importance of impact, depending on how important it is, I would not press the line on those illegal sites. I wouldn't. If the object of the game is to continue to spread the game for the bigger picture, then how people consume the game should not be the most primary thing. Because if you force people to only go through these legal quote-unquote sites, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to turn away because they're not going to be able to pay for it. They're not going to be willing to pay for it. They're not going to be able to pay for it. But on the streets, so to speak, there are plenty of people who are just excited about the NBA, and you're not being taken into account. And as long as the NBA continues to grow the way that they used to it growing, they're not going to turn away. And so they're going to be willing to buy merchandise. They're going to be willing to buy tickets when they have an opportunity to. They're going to spread the word to those who will pay for those sites that the game was dope and you should watch it too. And that impact there should be taken into account as very important, in my opinion. Extremely important. So that's just something I would say. Maybe the numbers don't agree with me, but that's something that I think. So it is what it is, man. That's my point of view on things. We don't really talk about that type of stuff too much. I'm more interested in the game itself, but the business is what affects some of the changes that we either appreciate or don't appreciate. And some of them changes, I don't think would be taken into account if illegal impact were accounted for a bit more accurately. It's pretty much what I'm saying there. So that's pretty much my thought on things, man. I don't really got much else to say about it. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. Bye.